So Brian, obviously you're unveiling the campaign today to get more people to vote. How come you don't stand for Parliament yourself?
I considered it, but I think I can do a lot more good by being an activist as I am. I don't want to step into one of the existing parties. We have great friends in all the major parties, but I don't want to be an MP because I think that would restrict our movements. I take great pride in the fact that we're colourblind. You know, we have badges of all colours of common decency, and there's a very good reason for that. We have friends and people that we trust in all the parties, and we have to honour that relationship. And that's what's necessary. In my opinion, we need to be colourblind. We need to stop encouraging this idea of juggling between major parties. You know, the two-party system to me is antiquated and gives rise to the bullying that goes on, which stops the democratic process really working.
And what about in the Lords? Because you could be independent there. Would you turn down a peerage, or does that float your boat in any way?
Somebody would have to offer it to me first, wouldn't they? In the present situation, I can't see it happening, but I'm fine with that. You know, I'm happily, you know, a common person, if you like. And that would change things. You know, obviously, if I were a Lord, I'd have to start thinking, well, perhaps that will compromise my neutrality as well. But you know, I'd have to take a view.
And I know you said as part of one of your pledges, you're going to tackle privilege.
Yes.
Couldn't you be accused of inverted snobism there? You know, what do you mean by privilege?
Privilege to me means inequality. It means people who are born into money for no reason except they're born into it. You know, people who've done nothing to earn the position they have. Getting some good support there. And you know, and the fact that money can still buy votes, money can still buy peerages, money can still buy immense amounts of spin. I mean, you'll see these billboards all around the country, vast amounts of money being thrown at them, which has been donated to the major parties by people who want to influence the vote. And you see, I'm doing the same myself here. This is a very small thing, you know. And I'm.
It's all your own money.
Yeah, this is me. This is what I believe in. So I'm putting my money. But in a sense, I'm using the system to crack the system. Yeah. That's the way I like to see it. To me, it's very important to realise that there are so many things that we take for granted which actually are not democratic, and that's one of them. You know, money should not be able to buy spin which can buy people's votes. You know, how is that democracy? Everybody should have the same amount of money to spend on a campaign if there's a fair system, you know. And so in my mind, in the end, we would be reforming the voting system. We would also be reforming the House of Commons. We'd be reforming the House of Lords, and we would be attempting to give people back the voice which they actually deserve, which they have the right to.
And with that reform, can you point any saints and sinners in the House of Commons? Are there any good examples there?
We're actually supporting people we regard as special honorees, people that we have experienced doing very decent things, having the courage to stand up for their own conscience and convictions. So we have a short list in at the moment. So many of the MPs which we have voted into power don't even bother to turn up for debates. We've seen this happen. We've seen debates with just a few people speaking, and if they're actually speaking in a debate, very often they don't know anything about the subject anyway. They'll be reading from notes which other people have given them. They're the good guys. The other guys are in the bar or the restaurants or wherever, and as soon as the bell rings, they'll be rushing in to vote and going, well, what are we voting for? Or which side? You know, if you saw what's going on, I mean, I would recommend reading Caroline Lucas's book because it describes all this. You know, this is what we think is democracy. We have a kind of trust that these people really care, and by and large, a lot of them don't. There are great people in there who we will encourage people to vote for and put back in there. There's a whole raft of people who really should not be in there because they don't have the right, but they've been put there, shoehorned in by a party for certain reasons which are nothing to do with democracy.
And are you in favour of one particular voting system? Are you against first past the post, for instance?
I am against first past the post, yeah, and I know that there are various forms of proportional representation and all that needs to be discussed. But the important thing is that it is discussed, and I'm not going to be standing for Parliament, so I don't have to give you the answer to the problem. What I think my job is, if I have a job, is to put people in there who will actually discuss them in an honest and sincere way, and will find a way to make the voting system fair. I mean, I think it's a no-brainer that it's unfair at the moment, because you can have a party whichever, a small party which could get maybe 5% of the votes, they would get less than 1% of the seats in the House, and there's no way that's fair. So I think it's absolutely obvious that the system needs to be overhauled, but you need to get a decent bunch of people in there who will discuss this before we can even open the discussion.